Hi, this is Christy Streckewald. I'm doing my second Angel post, and the first question, what have you learned about research? I'm finding the more I read the studies, I'm finding it much easier to identify the purpose, hypothesis, all the variables, the participants, all that. It's a lot easier. I'm finding I'm getting the information I'm looking for a lot more quickly and understanding them a little more thoroughly once you get the format down. I also had no idea what different kinds of variables were before and what to look for. Honestly, with independent and dependent variables, putting it into an equation like if x, then y, it kind of made it click for me, which is weird because I know I said I don't like math. But it also made me reflect on my teaching and all the extraneous variables that happen when I try to teach a lesson, like it's somebody's birthday or a visitor randomly walks in, and they all have an effect. And I also realized I spend a large majority of my day trying to change those confounding variables, like the child's home life or what happens on the bus. And granted, my classroom isn't exactly research, but it's helped me understand the overreaching concepts. So for challenges I've encountered, in concept, I understand what all the different kinds of research are, like grounded theory, ethnographic. But I have a hard time when I read studies pinpointing exactly what kind of study it was. I kind of want to just, I'm being very wishy-washy with it. I have a hard time narrowing down. I usually can narrow it down to two, but then I'm kind of, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about what some of these are. I just have different perspectives and try to justify it in different ways. So I'm still working on that. Successes also kind of has a bit of a challenge in it too. Finding research using the tools that we talked about in class has been very helpful. I find a lot of the online resources, very informative, and this is really all about looking for those key phrases that you want to really look into. And also looking in the bibliographies of the studies, it seems so elementary, but it was one of those dumb moments where I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And this is a seminal study, so it was very helpful. But one of the challenges is finding that qualitative article. I mean, I have some, but I'm not in love with them at this point. Um, it seems like a lot of receptive language research has been written by speech and language uh, pathologists, and very often they seem to like the quantitative approach over qualitative approach. So I'm still looking for some good research with that, but I feel like I have a really good foundational start with this project. So as a consumer of research, I'm finding it's much easier to identify the components of a research paper and picking out the information that I'm reading. And I'm finding that I'm reading them more thoroughly and more for understanding them before. A lot of times they feel overwhelming, but once you understand those components, it becomes much easier to understand the research and what the big ideas are. Um, I will say that although we talked about participants and the sampling size during our online class, I never really looked at that before as a consumer of research. I mean, I looked at who the participants were, but I never really looked at what their sample frame was or even the return rate, which I know seems like a little thing, but I just thought that was an interesting thing or part of research that I never really looked at before. And I'm also finding with all of the IRB testing or online modules that we've been doing, a lot of just interesting information of how they even go about getting their participants. Um, the next steps I'm foreseeing, I need to find a qualitative study on the topic I'm looking for. So I don't know if it's going to come from the perspective of the reading comprehension difficulties or from the language or from somewhere in between, but I need to find one that I really like and feel like it goes well with the question, or I guess the gap that I'm looking for. So I'll continue to work on that. So that's it for now, and I'll see everyone in class on Monday. Thanks, and have a great, steamy, hot weekend. Bye.